Look at that pink shirt. So nice. It's a nice,
dude, isn't it?
It's a nice mauve or some color. It looks like
it's so weird how much you learn about yourself, like when you grow up. Because I used to always think like, obviously there's far less stigma on it, but when I was a kid, people made fun of everyone who wore pink. Then Nike put out that like real men wear pink campaign, and it became much more like acceptable. I got to be that fucking podcast person who adjusts their mic all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let me do it. Let me do it with you. You know,
ain't right in front of my face. Gotta adjust this ice cream sandwich.
Gotta adjust. So, I'm getting hungry. I'm gonna put it closer to my mouth. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, somebody commented on our YouTube video the other day that said you should have started a podcast about ice cream sandwiches.
Bro,
and I was like, that's not a bad idea.
I'd get into it, man. We both have apparently strong opinions about ice cream sandwiches.
There's just so much ass out there, you know? And then there's just like the hidden gems of ice cream sandwiches.
That's true.
We're all about the hidden gems, bro. We're talking about indies, and then we're like, let's talk about how fucking some places just have delicious ice cream sandwiches for no reason. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And Josh is losing his mind trying to kill this fly.
It's pissing me off, man. It just, I hate them. I hate them because they see the light from the monitors and they're like, is this my home? And I'm like, no, get out.
In what world? Dude, it's just like, go die. Like, I don't understand.
Oh my goodness.
Joshua, we have yet to talk about the elephant in the room. You got that beautiful baby face. What happened
at me, baby.
To this fucking,
isn't it
what
nice
happened
and
to your
clean?
goatee, bro?
My wife hates me. That's clear. That's all you need to know. Is she would look to my face and she literally like kind of whined
right in your face.
She was like, ew. She was like, you fucking disgust me. You God. And then
I want a divorce.
Or you shave your face. And I was like, fuck, I don't want to pay that money. All right, I'll shave my face.
You're like,
put me in a bind.
No other reason. Like, you really put me against I'm what is that, like a rock in a hard place?
Yeah. It's true. Dude, I hate it. I like it looks good, you know, like it's got the nice like I don't know. It just, but it feels like you look at me and I feel like a whole different person, dude. I feel like a baby right now. I'm so childish. And then I cut my mustache more than my beard, so it looks even weirder.
Oh, that's like, what's happening. I was like, dude, why is it so light up here and then it's darker here?
Because I did them in two separate sessions, because I did this and then I just left the mustache. And I'm gonna be honest, a lot of people, they're like, I kind of look like a pedophile. I did not. I thought I looked good. I looked like Magnum PI. I had that nice detective looking mustache. I took a picture of myself. I was like, I'm looking fucking nice right now. And I looked out at her and she's like, that's even worse. She was like, you get that caterpillar fucking mother. Like, oh, she was so bad. She was very
It's
mad.
like the only thing about fashion being cyclical is eventually I'll be able to have a mustache. I'm holding out for that day, you know? Like my wife, she's not okay with it either. She's like, sure, if you never want to have sex again or you want to like put a bag over your head. And I'm like, but I could have a mustache?
That's true.
Yeah. See, that's why I just get close enough. I'll shave all of this, but still keep the mustache long. And that's borderline. She barely lets that happen.
That's the way it worked, is I never get my mustache to that point because I had just grown everything else out. Otherwise, I shave and I'm like, mustache is okay, but it's not like that full, like, yeah, you've actually got a mustache. It's more like, oh, you just got some hair on your lip, you know?
That's why you got to go crazy. You get the full beard, like you really beef it up, like I was doing a couple months ago before I cut it all off. And then you just shave all that off, keep the mustache, and she can't say shit about it. You're like, I got this dope ass caterpillar. You're telling me you ain't find this sexy? Come on, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
No. She would buckle immediately. It's just the laws of nature, you know. Everybody likes a caterpillar.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
it's
definitely like I hate that, like, there are two things that have been ruined about facial hair. And it's like, bro, the fucking, like, Hitler ruined the facial hair and pedophiles ruined the facial hair. Like, just,
you know, something about mustaches. I don't know. It's all good.
Such a bitch move, bro.
And then I was like, oh, I'll do it for, you know, like in November, people do that Movember thing for cancer. It's like a fundraiser thing and men will grow out their mustache. And I was like, I was like, man, I really like the mustache. I can't believe you didn't let me do that. And so she's like, I guess you could do it again like later, like not now, basically. Is kind of like the answer I got. And I was like, oh, I'll do it in November. And she's like, that's our anniversary. You can't do that because I don't want you to look bad at our anniversary.
Damn,
like,
dude, she's shitting all over you. She's like,
know.
you're never. She's gonna keep saying things like that's your anniversary, and then after that, she's like, Christmas is coming up, bro. New Year's, Easter, like you're basically just gonna ruin any major holiday. If you have a mustache.
Dude. That's what it's. That's what it is, dude. That is marriage in a nutshell. Is me compromising that I can't have a mustache.
It's just. It's a mustacheless prison is what marriage is. Like everyone like talks about how marriage is so terrible because you can't sleep with other people. And you're like, no, dude.
I don't care about that.
I fucking can't have a mustache. Yeah. So think about it. Everyone listening to this, before you get married, there are certain things you can't do anymore. Who gives a shit about having sex with other people? It's all about, like, if you're a guy, you won't be able to have a mustache, bro. Do you really want to make that decision?
It's tough. It's tough.
Is a life of happiness really worth it?
If only I had known. I was young and dumb. Just jumped into it without really knowing the consequences. But that's like...
See, I feel like if you got in on the ground floor of mustaches, like in high school, you just had a mustache and then you just kept going.
Nah.
Like... Do you think she would have dated you at all?
Oh, no way, dude. No way. No way. It's so funny because my wife and I talk all the time about who we were in like high school and how if we met each other during that time, there's no way she would have gone for me. Like I was so in this weird realm of just kids that she would have hated. Like,
yeah, dude, you wore those weird chain pants.
I wore the weird chain pants. I had long hair. I used to wear Hello Kitty jackets because I thought it was funny because it pissed people off. They were like, why you wearing pink though? Like,
isn't that weird?
I loved it. I loved it. I was talking about this just the other day. I was like, I just like pushing people's buttons because they were so like, why are you wearing that Hello Kitty stuff? And I was like, who cares? What do you care? What does it matter?
It's fucking cute.
It's cute. Why does it matter? Cute. You like this cat? You like this cat? They didn't like the cat.
Yeah, it's all a little bit weird. Back to it. I'm so glad that now as an adult, everyone's a little bit more accepting of the men wearing pink because pink is a good fucking color.
It is.
Okay. Like I always thought I wasn't a big fan of it. And then I got like one shirt and I was like, fuck, dude. I love me some pink, bro. Pink is a sweet ass color. Right, it really is. It's a great color.
This is Fashion Pod with John and Josh and Vaughn, not John. Just John comes later.
Hello and welcome to Indie Pod, an indie games podcast, your weekly source for all the indie games news you need to know. This week we are bringing you 2 awesome indie game news stories before, of course, we hop in to News Cram. God bless the crowd, answer your listener questions, and that's it.
That's it. That's all we do.
That's all we got for you.
We've never tried to do anything more. We probably never will.
Why even try, bro?
Why
it's
try?
Like we got this down pat. We got fucking gold right here. Fucking we got diamonds already. Why make it longer? Why try to do anything else, bro?
Oh, we already got a long podcast, so.
Yeah, it's not like we just talked about mustaches for like 10 minutes. Like whatever, bro.
Solid content. What are you talking about, man?
The 100% indie games too. It's fucking insane.
Yeah. Wait until someone. I'm gonna make a game about mustaches. I'll show you. It'll be a little platformer, little mustache boy. You have to actually, that'd be an interesting game. You know, like one of those weird like physics games where the characters are like kind of wobbly. It would be kind of like Piku Niku. Was that the game that I just played? But you'd be a mustache instead of that little like weird character from Foster's Home from Imaginary Friends.
Okay.
Just be a slinky little mustache boy. I'll make it. And then when we spend 8 minutes talking about that, I'll be like, see, mustaches. It's all good.
It's all came full circle. It only took me 3 years to make this game just so I could talk about mustaches again.
It's a long haul, but you know what? I'm in it to win it.
Yeah, it's the long con, dude. Yeah, you're like,
for sure.
Sometimes you just got to commit to the bit, and I did. And now I got to find something else to do. But before we get into any of that, I would like to introduce myself, Vaughn Hyde, alongside my illustrious co-host, the biggest, favorite Josh Boys. How you doing today, big Josh boy?
That was a tongue twister there.
Yeah, it was a little weird. I was like, how you doing, big Josh boy?
What is that song that I'm thinking of? It doesn't matter. Anyway,
I don't know. There's like, it's time to
maybe
duel.
Dude, I love me some Yu-Gi-Oh! Something about
Yeah,
that
dude,
show.
you're a big card game fan.
I'm a big.
So-
Let me tell you, you got cards in it. I'm like it. Not true. Don't slap.
You're
that
like
up.
fucking Duel Masters, bro. I was in deep in the Duel Master scene.
I cannot have hated the actual card game portion of Yu-Gi-Oh more, but for some reason I was just really into the idea of it as a kid. And my buddy and I were talking about it the other day because the Abridged series came up. If anyone watches like those where they just make stupid dubs
it's just jokes about it,
jokes
basically.
about it. And we were like sitting there and kind of laughing, and my buddy was like, I can't believe that I realistically as a kid was so into this show, like, because it's kind of dumb. Like, you cut it down to its core, bro. No, you're not.
You have no idea how dumb it is. No, I'm saying you have no idea how dumb it is.
Yeah,
is because literally, like, all they do is cheat. It doesn't make any sense. They don't even follow the rules of the fucking card game.
Season 1, there was no. They were like, I'm playing Blue Eyes Dragon, whatever.
They're like, I will normal summon Blue Eyes White Dragon. You're like, you have to give up like 3 monsters to do that. And Kai was just like. Fuck you, bitch. About? You fucking think so? Have you seen that bit of the Abridged series where it's like fucking Yugi and he's like, he put his license down as one of the cards? Or it's just like some spoof. It's so good. But yeah, that's the craziest thing about it is just how often they cheat. Yeah. And it's like, bro, what? You're literally making a card game in conjunction with this, and your rules don't make any sense. And often they'll be like, this card does this. Not even a little bit. Like Pyramid of Light totally threw me off, which is crazy because like the Yu-Gi-Oh movie comes out. It introduces this card, Pyramid of Light. When you went to see it in theaters, it was the only way to actually get this fucking card. They gave it to you in a card back. And then the card doesn't even do the thing they said it did. And you're like...
Dude. I wish they would have made it like leaned into how bonkers season 1 was for the card game and just been like, let's just make a game that has like so little rules and so just chaoticness and just run with it. Like,
did you know that like the original Yu-Gi-Oh series was not cards? It actually wasn't. The Duel Monsters card game actually came up later in the original Yu-Gi-Oh series, and people just really attached to that and wanted to see more of it. So it became this like offshoot legit Yu-Gi-Oh. But before, it was about just death, like deadly games of chance, where like there was one point in time where the character that would be Yugi like shoots a guy or lights him on fire. Like it's really fucked up. I mean, it's messed up.
But then 4Kids got it. Like it's the controversial like freeze, and it's just 2 guys with their finger guns.
So funny, dude. Yeah, it's so scary. They're throwing cards at each other like they're fucking shuriken. It's so funny. Oh my God, it's awesome. Like Yu-Gi-Oh is the weirdest awesome shit, and just have to say, Yu-Gi-Oh GX, that's my favorite version of the series. Love that. Love a fucking Yu-Gi-Oh GX. You got Jaden Yuki out here. He's got them elemental heroes, and like the last season of it, it's Isekai, dude. It's a fucking Isekai anime, and it's dope. It doesn't make any sense, but it's awesome.
No, I dipped out.
So who cares?
I dipped out way before that.
Before we hop into any of the big indie game stuff that we're going to be talking about today, of course, the stuff we're playing and such, got to go through our housekeeping. And, you know, I got to suffer through my tongue tiedness or whatever it's called.
Tongue tightness.
I feel like, yeah. I feel like one day I should just cut out my tongue.
That would be awful.
Like
every time we talk about something like this, I always think of you doing it on the podcast because you're like, if I die, you gotta do that. And I pictured you just being like, you know what? And just like,
I'm just like, I've got a special little thing for you today. And I pull out a hot knife and I'm just like,
yeah. I mean,
that'd be fucking crazy.
I mean, who knows?
I mean, we're trying to go viral, bro.
Dude, we have to. How are we going to fucking get to the people? We have to start taking it up a notch. Now, I'm not saying I'll do any of that, but like, I think you'll do it, you know?
And afterwards, I'm just like, I didn't really think this through because now I can't fucking record this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, that's like your biggest commodity right there is the fact that you can talk in a podcast.
Yeah. So I'll just be like, it'll be like you actually talking and me doing sign language.
Yeah.
So on the audio podcast, it would be like, basically they're like, how are you today, Vaughn? And I'm just like,
wow, fucking phenomenal signing there.
Yeah,
by the
you
way.
can't even see my hands. I'm just like this.
For those listening to the audio version of this, please go check us out on YouTube because you gotta see what Vaughn thinks signing is.
I love it. It's just me wiggling in a chair. I would love to learn sign language. That was always the craziest thing in high school when kids were like, you know what? We found a perfect way to talk to our friends during class and the teacher can't say shit. We both just learned sign language and signed to each other. And I was like, that was pretty smart. I'll admit. Like you got him, bro.
Yeah, it's
like,
a legit
good
strat.
Shit. So please be sure to check out our developer interview going live on October the 20th. That is a Wednesday. This one was with Tim Scheinman, something like that. Scheinman, yep. There you go. They are the developers of Echo Beach. Once again, that one is going live on Wednesday, the 20th of October. Be sure to check out our developer interviews each and every Wednesday. They're great. Last week, I listened to the Oddbug Studio one. They talk about Tales of Iron. Ooh, bro. The second he was like, it's like the story's like Redwall meets The Witcher, I was like, what? What are you talking about? Also, I love the fact that my arms are so white that my color correction makes my entire thing like exceptionally white if I put my arms up.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's so weird. But yeah, the developer interview for Tales of Iron, so awesome. The fact that the second he brought up Redwall, I was like, I'm in. You got me. Dude, there you go. I'm done. And then he's like Dark Souls. And I was like, are you fucking serious? Oh my God. Yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. I think I'm gonna buy it after the podcast and play a little bit.
Hot damn. I can't wait. I hope it's good.
Yeah. I hope it's good too. You know,
I would assume you would.
I hope so. Please check out the Indie Pod store over on Teespring. Check out our YouTube. You just go to YouTube, you fucking type in Indie Pod. You can watch the episodes there. All sorts of fun stuff. You could see me, doing flawless sign language.
Bro.
Yeah, it's so good. So good.
Did you create the language? I think
I did.
Yeah.
I think I did.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, exactly. I actually am the hand model. I'm the one who also developed the jutsu signs in Naruto. Little did you know. I might have been like 10 then, but a guy watched me doing sign language and he's like, oh my God, you're so good at it. And he's like, he developed an entire story based on me. I am Naruto. Like, little did you know. No big deal.
Dope,
whatever,
dude.
Bro. Whatever.
We should be
Leave
more
us
popular.
reviews on any platform in which you can do so. Specifically, iTunes helps us out a bunch. And lastly, thank you so much to all of our amazing patrons at the $3 tier or higher. If you give us any amount of money or any amount of your time, we absolutely love you. But of course, because of that good old blood pact, I got to thank the $3 tiers and higher. So thank you so much to Ethan, a gamer for fun. John, just John. It's just John, dude. Whatever. We'll see. Zach Durham, Chase Hopkins, Philip Renshaw, the Wampet Imp of Australia, Josh Nichols, aka Active Josh, and Sam Philliott from Canada. Thank you all so much. You were all so amazing. And Big Josh, well, we got to talk about some of the game you've been playing. So this one, you're playing a game called Depot's Game, Dystopian Army Builder by Konfa Games. What the fuck is that about? Like, what's up with this fucking name, dude?
I know. It's go figure. I'm playing a roguelite. It is a roguelite dungeon crawler, but kind of auto chest type game. So if you know of like the auto battlers where you kind of just get people, create a little army, and then you watch them battle and do their thing. It's essentially that, but they've turned it into a roguelite where you're going down floors. You have to manage both the food that your warriors are eating, and you have to go from room to room to try and build out an army. And the way it works is you have multiple types that you can get. So these little humans that are just like puny, like nothing humans that cost very little, but then you give them an item and they become that warrior, whatever it is. And it goes from like realistic to being like, you have the Excalibur sword, to being like, you have a pretzel and you throw pretzels, and like just ridiculous types of items. The humor in it as well, from like a writing perspective, is just very like on the nose. It's silly. It's a little bit ridiculous at times, but the actual combat to it is great. It's a really good chill type roguelike, where there's some things that people will probably look at it and be like, I don't like this because it's not as much skill based as it is like more strategy and kind of thinking about it. And sometimes it even feels like, especially with me, I've only played a couple of rounds. It can feel a little bit unfair at time where I'm just like, I just don't want, I want my healer to heal this other person. Like, what's happening? And you just kind of have to, you know, it's an auto game. Like, they're going to do their own thing. Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've enjoyed it. They have, with each floor that you go down, you have like little events, which can be random things that will either give you negative traits or positive traits, or just positive things where like sometimes they'll say like, oh, you caught this thing and you get more food. Or sometimes it'll be like, this thing destroyed your character and you'll just lose a character. And they're like, but it's okay, you got meat out of them. And so it's food for the rest of the people. And there's a lot of just different variability that goes into it. But I love the class building, because when you give someone like a pretzel, they become what's known as a thrower class. And so the way you build up your army is you want to try and get multiple people of the same class type to get extra bonuses of these abilities they trigger. So like for the throwers, you get a person with a pretzel, a person with a football, a person who actually has like throwing knives, like a ninja. So like more realistic,
actually have a weapon.
Actual weapon. You get these characters that as you start building it, they get these AoE bombs that can trigger every couple of seconds. And so they'll throw that. But if you only have one of them, they won't get that ability. And then as you get more people, it'll get better. So like if you have healer classes, you want one of each type of like a multitude of different classes that are there from a healer perspective, so that you can get additional healing. So it'll be like you just have a better heal and it triggers more often, things like that. And as you're going through, there's randomness where you get like little abilities that might go towards a class. So you might get a mutation, they call them, and it says something like, oh, now your healers can heal from a distance. And that's just like a little added perk that you might get, you might not in each run. I have not beaten it yet in the runs that I've done. I've done like 3 or 4 runs. I've failed, but I've gotten pretty far on certain ones, and I'm starting to learn like which classes I enjoy using more versus others. But there's obviously a little bit of, you have to mix and match, kind of have a variety of different people in your party. You have to manage that each time you move to a different room, they are eating and consuming the food. So you have to kind of balance bringing more people, bringing more rare items, so better classes, consuming food at a rate where you don't run out of food and then have weaker warriors, and then be strong enough to beat these bosses throughout each floor. I think it's good. I think there is a little bit of, this is an early access game, so keep that in mind, that like it's not completely fleshed out. I think that there's some like random events that have already like occurred again throughout the 4 runs where something is like triggered more than once, or I've seen certain events. But I think it's, the events are like the same in some cases, but you can get a different result, it seems like. So there's a little bit of that, of like maybe the longevity of the game won't be as great as right now my review of it, of just being like, yeah, I like this game. Like, I don't know if in 10 runs how I'm going to feel about it, but so far it's like a $12 or $13 purchase, and I thought it was definitely worth it for the amount of time that I've played, which is a couple hours. I'm having fun with it. I think that there's definitely like little things to grasp at that will change it. I think from a difficulty perspective, I still don't understand like what's better versus what is, like just a terrible matchup, because each one of those floors has different types of enemies. So I'm sure that certain classes are better at defeating other types, and like what's the best route to take, so to speak. But it seems like from like a roguelike perspective, you're still fighting the same characters. There's no progress. Like, this is a more roguelike than light, because there's not really any progression outside of the game. There's different progression where you'll like unlock class types that you can start with, where instead of being like your characters, you start with a guy who has a sword and one who has a crossbow. It's like now you have these like little funny titles where it'll say something to the nature of cosplayers, and you start with someone with an Excalibur sword and someone with a plague mask, like a plague doctor
fucking
mask.
Sailor Moon costume.
There is a Sailor Moon type costume in it. Yeah, there's some interesting ones in there, but I haven't seen anything that really like makes a big difference. So if you're just really struggling, the main thing to do is just go to the easier mode, it seems like. Which I don't want to do, because I want to learn the game and like find out what's because it's the same with most roguelites that are this type of strategy. You have to just understand what's going on and just learn and play over and over again until you get like it clicks with what's the best way to do it. But I'm enjoying it so far. I think it's definitely worth it. And I'm sure, you know, hopefully when it comes out of early access, there will be even more content or, you know, balances to it that make it even better.
Honestly, it's kind of crazy how good the pixel art is in this game. Like just watching some of the videos on Steam, obviously the humans are like kind of just these pink blobs, but the enemies you go against, these like robotic enemies, have really, really awesome pixel art, and just the slight variations on these little pink blobs of humans I honestly really, really like it. Like I'm seeing some of the people with like the Plague Doctor masks. I'm seeing some of the Sailor Moon-esque characters, people that look like thieves or look like dominatrixes. Like they have like fucking gimp masks on and whips. Like it's weird.
Yeah, there's some interesting classes in here, which I love. There's a good variety of weird to normal type things that you would think would fight enemies.
Well, that's awesome. I really like that. Honestly, the game looks really cool. And how involved would you say you actually have to be with the game? Is this kind of like a loop hero where it can just go for the most part? Or do you have to more pay attention?
No, so you have to
obviously you have to move between rooms.
Yeah, so okay, that's where I'm saying is like a lot of the pay attention is more of like the setup. Once you go to a different room, like you're exploring or you know, get your perk or you build out your army, when you go to click fight, I've seen sometimes, and this might just be being dumb and like not understanding, but I've seen sometimes where it feels like I'm able to move someone in battle, but other times they don't really respond to me. So I don't think so, but also I've only played it a couple of times and I just might be dumb and I'm not doing it right. But like, it feels like, and a lot of times I'm very hands off. I'm just like, click the button that says fight, put it to fast forward motion so it goes quicker, and then just like watch them do their thing. Which,
all right. Well, the game itself seems really cool. Like Josh said, it's in early access. Once again, this is Depot's game, Dystopian Army Builder. It's currently $13.49 until October 21st. So I think technically, our patrons will be able to get this for a cheaper price. But sadly, those the plebes listening on Friday aren't going to. But still, only $15 for this game.
So I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. I think it is a good amount of content so far. I think the writing is good. It's got a nice witty humor to it. I think that, you know, some people will look at this game and they'll think like it's not a game just because it's more of that like auto fighter. But I think it's fun. I think I like the setup. I like going into the rooms. I like trying to play around with what's the class that I want to build and the different setup. And I just think it's very wacky in itself, where there's just moments where you're like, I literally have, you know, a guy with a chainsaw next to a chef, next to what they call an egghead, which is just like a scientist guy with a big cart, next to like a person who in war would have like a medical, you know, one of those just bags or something to heal people. Like it's such a weird ragtag bunch that I think it's very quirky, but cute. It's like, it's interesting. I love it.
All right. And the other game you've been playing is Back for Blood by Turtle Rock Studios.
Yes.
Are you enjoying it? You played the like open beta a while ago. You weren't 100% sure on the card system. How you feeling now? Yeah,
so I wanted to bring this up. This one's going to be a little bit shorter. I just wanted to talk a little bit more about Back for Blood because now I am officially in it. I've only played about I think it was like to Act 2 or so. So not throughout the full game. I've played it for, you know, a couple hours or so. But I am enjoying it more than when I had played the open beta. I feel like they've done a number of tweaks to make it feel a little bit more forgiving, although I still feel like the difficulty from the upsetting is weird, because I think what they're trying to do, and there's people out there who are like, play on the lowest difficulty so you can get more cards and unlock them so that you can have actual builds and have more variety in the different perks that you get each level. The way it works is you have like this deck of cards you build, and each level it will flip out 5 of them for you to pick from. So if you only have the basic cards and you never have anything more than that because you haven't played the game yet, you're not going to get all the cool buffs that have like, you know, maybe a specific type of build that you want that maybe goes really far into shotguns or really far into melee or whatever it might be, or just better benefits than just like, here's 5 health Like, no. Like, so
can you move those? Like, can you go to the higher difficulties with those cards after you've unlocked them on the lower difficulty?
Yeah. So the minute you've unlocked those cards, the way it works is it's called the supply line. And so every time you play the game or do something in the game, you get what's known as supply points. It's usually for the amount of zombies you've killed or for like the amount of gold that you like copper that you had at the end of the round. There's a little end screen tally that shows you the difference. It doesn't really matter. The point is you get those points for completing a level or completing I think it works in the PvP mode, although I'm not 100% sure because I don't care as much about that mode. But you're able to use those points to then go on these supply line chains, which are like these things where you'll have 3 choices and you'll be able to see like 8 cards that are there and you get to unlock whichever one. And then once you complete a line, a new one will show up and then you'll be able to buy from those. And so you're just getting like little things like cosmetics or little things like the actual cards themselves that you can play in game. And then you'll be able to build that deck and have a better chance of survival and building the way you want. The reason why I like it more is because there's just so much more content in it now versus the beta. And it just feels more complete and more like an actual game than the beta did. And granted, this was, kind of on me for being like, it's not Left 4 Dead, it's a beta. Like I should have just, shut my mouth. But at the same time, I think some of the same issues are still there where it just like, I feel like the difficulty is still at a weird point and they're making some changes to it that are tipping the scales a bit where I feel like they might be tipping it to a scale where it's going to be too easy now. So we'll have to see where they're going with it. But I'm still enjoying it. Some of the things that I said before are some of the things like monsters in the game, these special ridden, they call them, are of a type that are so close to one another, you'll get like variations of the same type of monster. So you'll get like a big boy, this big fat boy, who there's 2 types that are literally one will run at you and explode and one will stay far away and puke at you. And the only difference between them is that it has its weak spot in a different area. And especially starting out new, I don't care where its weak spot is. It's the same fat guy that has nothing different. Like, so I think a little bit of that is kind of like, couldn't you have just made like a different model for that? And yes, that takes time. And yes, there's some to it, but like, I think it kind of sucks because half the time I don't know what's going on. And it plays into the fact that it's really hard to tell the difference between you and enemies, because anytime a zombie dies, which is really cool in the same light of you'll be splattered with blood and guts, like, cause you're, it's realistic, right? You're fighting zombies. Yeah. Blood's going everywhere. Your character and your friends' characters will be so covered that you cannot tell them between, the difference between them and a zombie that's like next to you, especially when it's so crazy and the horde goes, off on a tangent and they do what they do, that it just becomes like this guessing game of like, you have to really communicate with your team. So obviously that plays into a layer of just like, come on, get good. But also I feel like it's super confusing and not very accessible for people just getting into the game right at the start. And then I still feel like the people, like I like it more now that there's more than just 4 characters, because I enjoy characters that weren't there before, as opposed to that one guy who's got daddy issues who I just despise so much. I don't like him. He just never stops talking about his father. My father. Like, shut up. He's dead.
Yeah, I've heard I've heard some other people talk about it, and they're like, yeah, if you choose the like female character, she's like, she makes like offhanded comments like, yes, well, why are you being so handsy? You're not a politician and shit like that. And I find that legitimately hilarious. Yeah.
So I'm not still like loving the characters that much, which I think I just need to play more of, because I did enjoy that now there's like cutscenes. It's such a light story that it really doesn't matter, honestly. Like I feel like it's not enough, it's not that much, but it's like enough to give you a little bit more insight into them, as opposed to just like they've got like witty catchphrases or they just can't stop talking about their father. Like, great. So there's more to it that adds to that. That makes it a little bit better, but I still think there's a lot in this game that is kind of just not finished. There's like, and this is a weird gripe, I feel kind of like you in this, but this is like a weird one, is that there's these cosmetics for things like your character, like guns, like all these things where they have different skins, and you're like, cool. And literally it'll show you it and just show that it's locked. And I'm like, what do you want from me, game? How do I get you? And so you have to go to a totally different achievement section and just find the one achievement of the thing that you have to do to get that. And it's like,
that's kind of annoying.
I don't like, what if I really want this one thing? Like, why don't you like, it's such a small gripe, but it's little things like that where I feel like there's just some more polish that this game needs. But at the same time, I'm having fun with it. I'm enjoying it a lot more. I need to spend more time with it. And I feel like I'm going to end up going through it. I've heard some people say that it can get kind of boring and it doesn't like hold their interest. I think, that's fine. Like, I'm sure mods will come through and people will make their own maps and things will, like, it's the same thing with any of those games. Usually right at the start, things start a little bit rough and they kind of pick up steam. But I'm having fun with it. I still have, my gripes, but I think it's getting better. I think me talking about this probably isn't going to make or break anyone's choice on whether they're going to pay Back 4 Blood or not. But I think it's a fun game that people should check out, especially if they have Game Pass. Like, it's a no-brainer if that's the case.
All right, there you go. Back 4 Blood out there on Game Pass. It's even on like PC Game Pass, so you can fucking check that shit out. It's pretty dope.
It's true.
I thought about downloading it, but I was like, I'm not gonna play this fucking game.
Play it with me. Like, why won't you play games with me?
I like Left 4 Dead, but it's just they're not my favorite. Like, I just never cared that much about it. You know what I mean?
Fuck you.
So for me, this week I've been playing a little bit, like a very little bit more of Monster Crown by Studio Aurum. I talked about it a while ago when it was in early access because Errol actually gave me a code for it.
Oh, that's nice.
He's been championing this fucking game ever since I've known this guy.
Yeah.
Like it's been a while and he's been super into it. It just now has come out to like all these different platforms, and I enjoyed it when it was in early access. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to see what has changed, how it's like a little bit more fleshed out. Granted, I didn't play a whole lot in early access because I wasn't sure if everything would transfer. So I can't exactly tell you what exactly has changed that much. But I ended up like booting up the game and found out that your progression actually does transfer.
That's
My
good.
character was still there, which I was like, sweet, dude.
Yeah.
I ended up being like, oh, I want to start new to see if anything did, if anything in the opening really is drastically different. The way you initially get it is very Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. So in Pokemon, how you would choose like one of 3 different starter Pokemon. In Monster Crown, being a monster tamer, it does a similar thing, but it's a little bit different where it makes you take a personality quiz. And based on your personality type, it recommends a certain one for you, but you don't have to go with that. You can actually just choose one of them. So it's a little bit nicer than what I'd say Mystery Dungeon does, where Mystery Dungeon is like, you're a fucking like a Caterpie. And I'm like, I don't want to be a fucking Caterpie. Like, I like Caterpie, but I was hoping for like Bulbasaur. I was hoping for Larvitar. Like, why you fucking me on this, bro? And it's always like, you're a Bellsprout. Come on, dude.
It's okay to be a Bellsprout, bro. It's okay.
It's just, but now in, not now, but in Monster Crown, you can actually just choose which one you want. So of course I went with Ambigu again because gotta love them fucking slime boys. I picked it up. I was like, hell yeah, slime boys so good. And ended up just like walking around, fighting some monsters. It kind of annoyed me because the way you heal in this game while out on routes is that you pick up like different vegetables. So they're like just pumpkins and shit. And then you turn around and feed it to your like party leader. And I think that's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting because it's always following you, very, very akin to like Pokemon Silver. But for some reason, mine would not heal. And I don't understand why. It like refused to eat these pumpkins, and when it did eat it, it didn't heal. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? And it happened 4 or 5 times where I pick up a pumpkin and this bitch ass wouldn't eat this fucking pumpkin. So I ended up dying, and I was like, fuck it. And I turned off the game, and when I booted it back up, I just chose to go for my early access because I was like, why not? we'll see what happens. I hop back in, still have my ambigu, but I had a couple other monsters to play with. So I went through, still enjoying the battle system. I think it's fun. I think the monsters are like really interesting and intriguing. It's much more early Pokemon or Dragon Quest monsters than what Pokemon is now, where it's like a lot of like really high polished creatures, and they kind of it seems like Pokemon tries to stray more towards the cute and cool than it does toward the monstrosities, where Monster Crown is very much like, these things look fucking weird. Like they are monsters. That's the whole point. And I think that's really cool. I think it's fun. While looking into this, there are some things that I've yet to experience that I do find really interesting. One is like the evolution mechanic of how you would evolve monsters in Monster Crown. I'm not 100% like up. I don't 100% know how it works, but it seems like there are a bunch of different ways. One is that I believe you can temporarily evolve them, very similar to Pokemon's Mega Evolutions, with crowns in the middle of battles, and then you choose, like, based on which crown you give them, they turn into a different type of like monster, but it's basically just a mega evolution, but of a different type. It's pretty interesting. There's also like, you can combine two monsters to make a different one. And it's like, there's a lot of variation there, which I think is really interesting. I've yet to run into any of it. I'd like to find out, like, of course, I'm that guy who's like, ooh, this monster looks cool now, but like if it evolves, does it look stupid? Right. And I've been trying to look up stuff, but it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot documented on Monster Crown right now. So I guess I'll just have to see, but I'm enjoying it. I think it's fun. I think it's got like a really interesting and unique evolution mechanic versus just like leveling up. You can combine them. You could do the crown evolutions and stuff like that. Very cool. I'm interested to see where that goes. I like that my early access playthrough transferred over. I think that's pretty sweet. Ultimately, I think the game's fun. I like the nostalgia of like early days Pokemon on the Game Boy Color. I think it's very fun. And yeah, I don't have much else to say about it. Like I said, haven't played a whole lot more. But my brief encounter with the game, if you're a fan of early Pokemon, $20 it's a pretty low bar. It's a pretty low price to pay. So I think it's a lot of fun. Oh, the last thing I find really cool about it is the idea of the monsters in this world. There are creatures, but it's not like Pokemon, how they're just kind of like animals who are then enslaved by some random passerby. Instead, they're monsters in this world trying to get stronger, trying to attain more power. And you as a trainer, you walk up to them and you just make a pact with them. You're like, I will help you gain more power if you utilize that power in my defense. And I think that's really cool. It's not about like this like master or like a sub-dom thing, which is a little bit weird, but I'm just going to say it. Yeah. It's not like Pokemon where you're forcing them to be your creature. Instead, it's just like, hey, bro, like, you like what you see? And they're like, sure, I guess. That's cool. Like, I think it's really cool. I really like the idea of that. So you make pacts with them, and I really enjoy that. But that's all I'll say about Monster Crown. Once again, that's by developer studio Aurum. But Big Josh boy, it is time for us to get into our main news stories. Our first news story over on IGN, written by Jared Moore. And this one is Spelunky's world record holder exposed as a cheater. So dude, you want to see something fucking insane? Way crazier than this. Look at how fucking gigantic this soda is. This is a massive fucking soda, dude.
That's way too big. Also, weird time to transition with that, but I guess you were just a thirsty boy.
Well, I wanted to take a drink of it earlier, but I wanted to like showcase how absurdly big that cup was. Because like Panda Express, they're known for having big cups, but this is not the cup that they normally have. No. So Panda Express, their normal cups, when they actually have their Panda branded cups, their large is like this big. It's really tall, and it's like a funnel. It's insane. Ridiculous. Like so much bigger than everyone else's large.
This is why we're so fat.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah. Because
have you seen that KFC will sell you a bucket of soda?
Oh my God. Dude, I went to
it's like a bucket of chicken with a straw in it. The soda, it's like plastic, but it's dope.
I am a person who loves to this is gonna sound like an alcohol thing, but it's not. I love to drink like liquids. Like I love, whether it's water, whether it's soda, whatever it is, like I just enjoy always drinking something. And so I always will go for like at no less a medium, because I just know like I don't want like a smaller cup. And so I did the same with
I don't want to swallow.
I did the same
It's
thing with like
swallow mouthwash.
an ice cream place where I was like, I always do the same thing where I'm like, oh, I'll get a medium, right?
Yeah.
And I find out that there's like a baby and then a small and then a medium. The medium's like this big. I'm like, how is it? What this? In whose mind is this a medium? Like, what are you talking about? I was like, I can't eat all this ice cream. It's ridiculous.
So back to this news story. In 2012, a player going by the name of Berry Mode completed the original version of Spelunky in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, setting a speedrun record for the game that lasted almost a decade. Now, however, following efforts by the game's community, it has been revealed that the player's blistering time was only made possible through cheating. As reported by Waypoint, Berry Mode's record-setting time had long since raised suspicion from the members of the speedrunning community, with doubts being raised for several reasons. Not only was Berry Mode an unknown player to the speedrunning community, raising questions over who he was in the first place, he also opted to take a number of routes in the run that seasoned speedrunners felt were illogical. This led many to question whether he knew in advance the best path to take through Spelunky's sprawling network of caves. In addition, speedrunners across the years have raised their doubts over the time of the run itself. Berry Mode's speedrun wasn't just quick, it was almost too quick. Since setting the time in 2012, nobody has come within reaching distance of besting it. Despite efforts from the community, the closest time to Berry Mode's sits at 2 minutes and 40 seconds, a notable margin of distance in speedrunning terms, which is insane that 10 seconds is a notable margin.
Okay, I was just about to comment on that because they don't say it in this article, but yeah, the difference is 10 seconds, and I was like, were they really that suspicious? But like, I get it.
They act like it was fucking light years ahead of everyone else. Like, it's fucking insane, and it's 10 seconds.
But for speed, I guess speedrunning is crazy. Yeah, it does make sense because people beat each other by like milliseconds when it comes to these records. So I guess it does make sense, but it just looks pretty ridiculous when they're like, 10 seconds? It's unthinkable. And you're like, is it though?
Yeah. Come on, dude.
It's like, that's not that long.
When contacted by Waypoint, Berry Mode was quick to admit to cheating in the game. I do apologize for that deception, he told the outlet. It was bad character, and I could admit that. Since speaking to Waypoint, the content creator has since removed the clip showing his attempt from YouTube. The discovery of Berry Mode's deception was published in a video by YouTube creator Xanargear. Xanar Gear. I'm going to say Xanar Gear.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Which gives a detailed account of the community's efforts to uncover the truth behind the cheater's fraudulent run. In short, it appears that Berry Mode used a modded version of the game that would allow him to replay levels over and over to find optimal paths through Spelunky's cave-like mazes. Other players discovered the cheat thanks to a missing tile in Berry Mode's run that featured in all but the first level of his speedrun attempts. According to Xanar Gear, when using the mod, the game starts you at level 2. With this in mind, it's believed that the player spliced in footage from a vanilla version of the game for the first level to avoid detection. That's kind of where this goes. It's like been this long-standing scandal, but other than that, it's kind of interesting how crazy people take these record settings.
Very seriously.
Like, they cheat hardcore just to get these fucking scores.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I did also just see, like, I believe there was the previous holder of like the Donkey Kong speed run.
Yeah.
Or it was like this famous speedrunner who is then accused of cheating. And I just saw an article earlier today that said that he has now been given permission to sue seemingly the people who accused him of cheating. I'm not 100% sure how it's all going down, but people take this really seriously.
Yeah, that's I mean, for me it feels like a bit much, but like if you live and breathe this, like this is your world. Yeah. So I understand the passion and the what seems like chaos or craziness from an outsider's perspective. But damn, man, people go to long lengths for figuring this out, though. Like, I thought it was so interesting. I started watching the video from Zonar Gear to be like, okay, what is this all about? They literally found out because there's just like one tile missing, like this one little square.
That's crazy.
That is just black. And they were like, why is that there? And like, granted, it does look a little strange. Like if you look at Spelunky and you're like, that's because the way it works is sometimes there will be pieces that are, you know, it's procedurally generated when it comes to what you're looking at from the hallway that he's walking through and each screen, like the menu screen where it shows you what your progress was. But it's like that one square was always gone. And like that alone, they were like, what's happening here? What's happening there? We screen at? And it's literally because that mod put something into the game to do that overwrites that one piece of like pixel, that square, and gets rid of it for some reason. And then they were able to find out by going through forums to find out that this thing does it and that it was on this forum at that specific time. And because he like, it's this whole thing where it's like super in-depth analysis and research into like this detective work of figuring it out. And it's like, this is 8 years that this has been like a record. And just now they're like, fucking gotcha.
Yeah.
We've been doing this
was their
for
fucking
8 years.
lifelong pursuit, dude. Oh my gosh. Imagine like, I wonder when exactly they found this pixel thing and like found out that it was like fraudulent. They're like, it was right under our nose for 8 years.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because like people, you could see it in like the video and the way the writer talks about this, that people knew that like something was up because 10 seconds, like we just made a joke about it of how dumb it is that they're like, oh, 10 seconds, what a difference, like in real world time. But it is a big difference when no one can even get close to that time. And you're just like, but how did you do it though? I don't agree as much about the
seemingly skipped a whole level.
Yeah, well, that works too. But well, no, they didn't. Well, I don't know the gender. They didn't do that because they spliced together a video of them playing the first level on a normal build and then went to their actual build. So it's still counted as that time, but it's just because they used a cheat to make sure that they knew exactly where every single thing was.
Oh, okay.
So they use that build that starts them at level 2 and then just recorded themselves playing level 1 and just edited the video together so it just looked like he was doing that. Because that's one of the things where they're like, that missing square is not missing on level 1. It's all of the rest of the levels have that missing piece because it's that mod only specific where the mod starts on level 2. So like even me explaining this is like just layers of BS where you're like, this seems like too much work. Like there's so much going on here. But I mean, if you're so into this world, like I'm sure there's people who are like, man, and to think that you're like that second, like there's probably someone who's been in second place for 8 years now who's like, yeah, it's my time to shine. I'm the real, like I knew I was the best.
And then somebody ups them by a millisecond, like 2 days later, and they're like, fuck you.
But that's the name of the game. Like I think it's really cool that people were able to figure this out. But like also, man, what are you doing where you need to lie to be like, I'm the best at Spelunky running? And you're like, but why? I mean, like, for what?
Also, like the thing I find so weird about that is like Waypoint reaches out to him and he's just like, yeah, I cheated. Like I feel bad about it. It was a bad character moment. It's like, it was a bad character moment and just got worse that you let these people like I
for so long.
100% doubt that he didn't know that they were researching this for 8 years.
Yeah.
He could have just come forward and been like, yeah, I cheated. Like, you let these people waste 8 years of their lives trying to figure out your dumbass Spelunky thing. Like, that's what I find crazy. I don't think the most egregious thing about this is that they cheated. It's that they didn't say anything about it for 8 years. Yeah. And like originally I was like, oh, well, like they've obviously changed over these 8 years. They realized the issue, like the error of their ways. But it's like, did you just change in the past 2 days? Like, what the fuck do you mean?
Finally called
out. It's almost a decade.
Finally called out and they had a change of heart. They're like, you know what?
Yeah.
That was messed up of me. I gotta think about some things now.
Yeah, the biggest dick move, not the cheating. It's the not saying shit about it for 8 years.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Oh my God. Like maybe even like 9 years or almost 10. Like it's fucking crazy. Like, oh, fuck that guy, dude. Barry Bone can eat my dick. That's just so mean.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. It is what it is.
Yeah, speedrunning and records aside, time to move on to our next and last news story. This one continues to be over on IGN. It's written by Adam Bankhurst, and it is Sable and other games from publisher Raw Fury to be adapted for film and TV. Raw Fury and production company DJ2 Entertainment have officially partnered up to adapt the video games Sable, Nightcall, and Mosaic for film and television. As reported by GamesIndustry.biz, this first look partnership will also include the option to opt out of the Blues Call of the Sea, Long Hat Houses, Dundara, and Lame Studios, The Signifier. Oh my God, these are weirdly hard. Okay, and Geography of Robots, Norco. Weirdly hard for me to say, but there's not like a massive amount after this. They kind of like talk. There's so much to love about working with Raw Fury. Like it's all a lot of PR speak, but right now we're just getting more indie games that are getting these film and TV releases. I really just want to know where my fucking Hyperlight Drifter Netflix series is. Like, what the fuck?
I don't know, man.
We talked about this 3 years ago.
I did.
What the fuck?
I saw this and I skimmed through it and I didn't see the first sentence and I just kind of like went through where all these links are and I was like, Life is Strange, Disco Elysium, My Friend Pedro. And I was like, we've already talked about this. And at first I was like, is this a nothing article? And then I was like, oh no, there's more people. But this is a testament to how long this kind of stuff takes. Cause like, they just keep slapping on. They're like, more games? And you're like, well, when's the first one come out? And they're like, eventually. And you're like, okay, cool. Well, I guess I'll be excited at some time. I don't know. I'm not as much hyped for this because not to, rain on anyone's parade or, it's a more of like jelly, not my jam kind of thing. But like, I don't know much about Sable, Nightcall, or Mosaic. So I'm like, that's cool. But I just want my Disco Elysium. Like, come on, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a good point. Like I obviously like followed Sable for a while, and we might be playing it for our next book club. But
I don't know.
I'm not exactly sure. Everyone's talking about fucking Xeno Crisis.
Me and Mr. Wombat are trying to squash that. I thought it was so funny. This is a weird tangent, but like when Sable came up, I was like, I'll do it, but I'm not gonna like it. And who was it? I think it was Zach who was like, oh, I know you won't. Like.
You know what I find legitimately hilarious is that our fucking community is acting like we've played 1,000 open world video games and they just can't handle another one for these book clubs. And it's like, literally, I don't even think we played one. And they acted like, oh, another open world video game. It's like, bro, what the fuck you mean? Like, come on.
Nah, man.
Played like 18 roguelikes, but the second we get to an open world game, they're like...
It's because roguelike's good. All right?
What?
Get out of here. Get out of here. I will say I'm excited for this in the idea that, like, I love seeing these adaptions because we seem to be getting better at finding a way to take video games and turn them into a different form of media. You look at like The Witcher, you look at like the Castlevania animated series, like there's some good things that are coming out where before it was like, man, there's a lot of hot garbage coming from video games to movies. Like you look at them Silent Hill movies and like, ugh. Anyway.
Yeah, and like another thing, I'm also happy that this is like, it's very nebulous, but I'm happy that they're saying that there are options. Like you could be producing these for film or television. So like, sure, something like Night Call might work better as a film. Like I haven't played it myself, but looking into it, I remember Jacob McCourt from the Left Behind Game Club actually talked about their experience with the game, like way back when we had him on the show.
Right.
And it's like this noir detective story where you're like a cabbie in London or something like that. Or like, I can't remember 100%, but it's very interesting looking into Mosaic. It seems like this really eclectic sci-fi adventure. Like it's all very up in the air. I could see these games actually working fairly well in a television setting. I mean, like with Night Call, I think that could make a good movie. And it's like, this doesn't even have to be based on a game. Like you can make a good noir detective story. Like it's just in black and white.
You look at more than half of these. Also, I said Silent Hill when I meant Resident Evil. The Resident Evil movie sucked. You look at more
also, have you watched the Silent Hill movies? They're not good either.
Well, there you go. Then I already know what I'm talking about.
You were right.
I was
either
right
way.
right on the money. You look at more than half of these games, and the main like factor behind them is they're more relying on their narrative to be the part of gameplay, right? You look at a Disco Elysium, it's because of the story. You look at Life is Strange, it's the story. You look at something like Sable, it's the story and the exploration, right? You can very much attribute that to another form, whereas most games, when you try to turn like, this is going to be the idea.
I'm super interested to see, hey, My Friend Pedro comes out.
So this is what I was talking about, is like, My Friend Pedro is chaotic. And I think there could be something like, I could see very much either like a Saturday morning cartoon or maybe like an Adult Swim type cartoon that turns into something interesting. But like, it's the people who try to take the original Mario movie and they were just like, Mario's popular, let's just make a movie about it. And then it comes into this like trash and you're like, so you're telling me a guy jumping on turtles and we just tried to make it a movie didn't work? And you're like, no, because it didn't have a story. Like, you need to figure out something. Like, and like, we're getting better at that, or we're getting more into like the idea of something being popular doesn't mean you get to just turn it into something and it's going to make you gold, right? Like, there needs to be a little more thought process in it. So I'm interested to see where they go. I think, you know, like you said, there is some great themes to a lot of these that could be great. Like, I would be, from all of them, probably most interested in Mosaic.
It looks weird.
But yeah, like I like the very strange like creepiness to it vibe. I don't know, man. It's also one of my biggest things where I'm always like, okay, I'll be excited when I can be excited, because I'm sure these are all going to be things that we don't see for quite some time.
Yeah, I think like right now it seems like people are getting much more like, this is going off you talking about Mosaic, is that I think like people are actually pretty open to having a game like this being adapted into TV, because we're seeing things like recently, I think it's like Apple Plus or something like that. They're developing Asimov's Foundation, which I'm actually really interested to see how that works. I've been wanting to check out the book for a while, and I've heard it's very heady. So like, I'm excited to see how that goes. And it seems like where like Game of Thrones has made fantasy really popular in the mainstream,
right?
I believe that like science fiction has always been somewhat popular, especially with things like Star Wars, among other things. But it's like, we have yet to really get into like this really more impactful science fiction that people are really attached to, that has broken into that mainstream success. And I think we're slowly moving toward this like inflection point where we're finally going to start to see people really get into these, I guess, I don't know, weirder parts of science fiction. So I'm interested to see where all of these go. The My Friend Pedro one I'm most interested in, because I believe it's, I can't remember, but I think it's like the producer from John Wick. So that'll be really interesting.
Yeah. No, that is true.
Yeah. Yep. When we initially talked about it. So I'm very interested in that. Obviously, I'm a big Life is Strange fan, so I'd love to see that. So, well, it's time, you know,
see it when we see it.
I'm just fucking sitting here slowly wasting away, waiting for a Hyper Light Drifter movie or show on Netflix, you know.
Never.
Whatever, dude. I'll just go fuck myself. But on that note, it is time for us to hop into News Cram. News Cram is our weekly wrap-up segment where we, the hosts of IndiePod and Indie Games Podcast, cram you full of all sorts of indie games news. This week in News Cram, we don't have any quick news stories for you, but we do have a whole bunch of new stuff as per usual. So, our first 6 items in new stuff come away with Nintendo Life, where it's reported that adventure game Henchman Story by Silken Sail Entertainment is now available on all current and last-gen platforms, including the Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam. That relaxing golfing game, A Little Golf Journey by Okie Dokie Co. That was actually way easier than I thought it was going to be. Is now available on the Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam. That isometric puzzle game, Where Cards Fall by the Game Band, is headed to the Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam on November 4th. That monster taming game, Monster Crown by Studio Aurum, is now available on all last-gen platforms, including the Nintendo Switch, PC via Steam, and seemingly the PS Vita. I'm not 100% sure on the PS Vita port. I tried to look it up and Reddit was like, it's coming to Vita, and like all sorts of stuff. I don't 100% know, but I guess you can find out if you've got a PS Vita. I don't have one anymore, so whatever.
No one has one.
That the Ori collection is now available physically on the Nintendo Switch and includes both games, their respective soundtracks, and 6 collectible art cards. And lastly, that multiplayer party game. I actually wrote part game, but it's a party game. Gang Beasts by Bone Loaf. And that's got to be a sex joke. Like, that's got to be a penis joke. I mean, the Bone Loaf, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
hit her with that big old bone loaf. You know what I'm saying?
And Coat Sync is now available on the Nintendo Switch. Now over to Twinfinite, where it's reported that Lovecraftian 2D roguelite game Theater of Sorrows by Catastrophe Games and Mobile Way is headed to PC and the Nintendo Switch on January 14th, 2022. And lastly, that fast-paced 3D platformer Solar Ash by Heart Machine has just been delayed to December 2nd, 2021. So, Big Josh Boy, now that we have thoroughly covered everything, we talked about all the games we can play.
Everything
we've been doing so much stuff. Yeah, everything. Wow. We've gotten pretty crazy. Okay.
Whew, what a long podcast.
It's time for us to give back to the creators of amazing indie games. In our next segment, God Bless the Crowd, this is where the biggest of average Josh boys find something awesome for us to talk about on crowdfunding sites, and we do just so.
True.
We are once again headed over to Kickstarter to talk about a game called Ailuri?
I guess so.
Ailuri? A hand-drawn 2D platformer adventure. Play as Ailuri, rescue endangered species, and explore detailed levels in this fantasy-inspired 2D platformer game. The developers are currently looking for $13,351. They have surpassed this. They're at $17,175 with 480 backers and 26 days left to go. The developers are Vivink Studios. Vivink Studios. So, Big Josh Boy. Lastly, to get in on the ground floor and actually get the game, I believe is $15 or like $20 AU. I'm assuming that's like Australian currency. I'm really not sure what that one was, but $15. So, what do you think about Ailuri?
Look cute.
Or Ailuri.
I don't know. Ailuri.
Ailuri.
Well, I hope we don't find ourselves on another one of those bad name convention reels.
Like, what the fuck?
Ailuri looks great, dude. It looks super cute. It's a hand-drawn 2D platform adventure. Like, what else do you need to know? You get to be this cute little fox boy. I guess it's a fox. I don't know.
Looks like a fox. It actually kind of looks like a red panda.
Yeah, kind of. True. But I'll stick with fox boy for now. I think it's cool. There's a co-op mode to it. It's a 3D platformer. The visual side to it looks great. You are fighting these giant bosses, which I think is like a little bit weird from the one thing that they showed. But I don't know, man. I honestly, I'm probably not going to have much to say about this. I feel like people should just see it because this game it feels like very much more of an artistic thing of like, look, super pretty, just get the game kind of thing. Yeah. But I love platformers and I love games that can be co-op just because I can play with my wife. So honestly, like this looks like a pretty good one. I don't know. And you get to be this cute little red panda fox boy type thing.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is. You're so cute. You don't need to classify yourselves with a type. Come on now. Cute boy.
Yeah. All right. So, Ailuri, I think it's kind of interesting, especially in a world where like we know we're not going to be getting more Ori for a while, if at all. So I think this could fill somewhat of that gap. I'm seeing a lot of familiar themes where it's like seemingly that cycle of nature, corruption, invading these previously serene environments. We see like the fire cleansing these places. We see all sorts of different stuff. Very Ori in the Blind Forest or Will of the Wisps. I'm very interested in it. The one thing that I've like kind of learned about myself recently is that I'm not a big fan of level-based games.
Really?
Like I don't like when things are partitioned into levels. I'm just not super into it. Like hub worlds, I don't really have a problem with. Like I'm good with open world. I understand that a lot of people have open world fatigue right now, but like I don't have any problems with it. But it's just like for some reason level-based stuff is just not my jam. I'm just not a big fan of it.
Even when it's blended in with like a story of like you going from one area and then getting a cutscene that like explains why you're moving to a different section or something like that, or is it just the idea of the disconnect of just being like, now you're here?
Yeah, for like, I realized it with Flynn, Son of Crimson, and it might be because there isn't that like kind of transition sequence. Instead, it's just like the dotted lines on a map.
Right.
So it's very possible. I feel like it all kind of just depends on how, for lack of a better term, girthy these levels are, like how action packed, how much they have in these levels, or if it's something like one of the big issues I've so far had with Flynn, Son of Crimson was that I just felt like the levels were unnecessarily small. Like there was no reason to break them up that much. So it's very possible that this would be different. And if it really leans into this story and has like reasons for me going to different places and doing different things, yeah, I might be into it. I do think the game is super cute, and I definitely think you're right. It is something that like the biggest allure for it will be that art style.
The biggest Ailuri.
The cute.
Hey-o.
He fucking did it, peeps. We're done.
We're
no
done.
No more Indie Pod. It's over now.
Yes, I broke the contract. But no,
I also think it's really cool that one of the main driving forces of the game is like to try to combat like deforestation and these like the extinction of certain animal species.
Yes.
I think that's cool. So you're just like going around rescuing all of these different animals and giving them sanctuary. I think that's super dope. But right now we'll just kind of have to see. There is a demo available over on Steam if you'd like to check it out.
Yeah.
Plus, you can get a fucking plush, which I think is super dope.
That was the first thing I saw on this, and I was like, I wonder if you're going to talk about that because it looks pretty cute.
See, here's the thing. It's like $34, but all you get is the plush. You don't get anything else. It's just the plush.
Yeah, that's a
which
struggle.
like maybe, well, I guess there are some tiers higher where it's like this one's $60. You'll get the plush. You'll also get a code and stuff. So I actually think that's cool. Now that I look at it and see that there is just a plush tier and there's another tier where you can get the other stuff, that's dope. Because that's something I've always wanted where it's like, I just want the physical stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'll buy your game when it comes out, but I want to make sure I get this physical thing because I know you're not going to sell it afterwards.
I mean, it makes sense because it's like, it's also good for people who you might look at this and be like, that's super cute, but I'm not into platformers or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And you just want to help back this game and make sure that it comes to fruition without actually being like, I know I'm not going to play it, but like, I'm going to get that cute plush.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. There's so many Kickstarters where I love their physical rewards and want them so much, but I'm like, bro, I'm not going to spend $120 to get this t-shirt. Like I get that I get other stuff with it and that's really, really awesome. But it's like, I'm not that into this game. I just want the t-shirt. Like, and I think that's cool that they have a separate tier for it. But ultimately, it's not something that I will necessarily back. The combat itself, like without playing it, doesn't look super heavy. It doesn't look very weighted.
It looks more like you're avoiding things and just kind of triggering things to like. You don't seem to have much of a combat other than that one like just kind of slash attack. It seems like, and I'm also not 100% into the idea of the grapple hook or whatever it is because it just doesn't.
Dude, I have no idea what that's all about.
Yeah,
like, there's this like white spirit following you the entire time, and I'm like, what's up with the doppelganger?
The white spirit I think is the co-op mode. So that's when you have a second person with you. I think they just do that little like.
I thought so.
Character.
It just looks really weird because sometimes it's included and they don't even talk about co-op.
Yeah, no,
like,
they do.
They do. Well, no, I mean, just in certain areas when it's included, they don't reference that as being.
Oh,
co-op.
I see.
Like, but there is like actual. They say you can play with a companion couch co-op.
Yeah, that's the co-op person.
That must be.
I'm not as into the grapple hook thing because it just seems so far fetched from your character. Because you just everything else makes sense, and then you're like, this string just comes out of my back and like swings
it is
me.
kind of weird. Like if you were a spider, it would be a little bit different.
Yeah.
You're like this. I guess like maybe you're a magical red panda with a grappling hook. Like you don't know them.
Yeah.
What's this weird thing on their back that's like got these rocks?
Yeah,
like, we don't know what that's all about.
I'm not 100% sure either. I'm sure that's probably why they're able to do it. But yeah, I don't know. But
there's probably somewhere in this Kickstarter that we're now seeing where it's like, this bitch was chosen by the gods. And they were like, hey, have this back knee that serves as a grappling hook. Okay.
You dum-dums. Yeah, we just can't read. It's fine.
Definitely. That's definitely the problem here. But it looks really cool. It looks interesting. I'm into it, but it's not going to be something that I will personally pick up, with the exception of maybe that fucking plushie, because that plushie is cute as shit, dude. That's a cute little plushie. Any last little tidbits you want to talk about before we head into our listener questions?
No, I think we covered it pretty much. I think that, it's only a $15 purchase if you're in US. It's not that crazy. If you're into cutesy platformers, give it a look.
Dude, that fucking soda weighs like 25 pounds. I'm afraid I'm going to buckle under that weight every time I pick up that cup.
Oh my goodness.
Once again, this is Ailuri. It's Ailuri, a hand-drawn 2D platform adventure. It's over on Kickstarter, and it's still got 26 days left to go. So it doesn't matter if you're a patron or a plebe, you're listening to this, you're into like the red pandas, animal conservation, anything like that. You want I would say, and this, I don't mean this in a mean way, but like a less polished Ori themed game. Like this seems like it. This seems like very along those lines. In a future where we don't have Ori, Ailuri sounds really, really cool. It sounds very interesting. I'm excited to see where it goes. But Big Josh Boy, now that we are out of God Bless the Crowd, it's time for us to hop into our listener questions. Philip Renshaw, the one of Australia, writes in and says, what is your position on daylight savings time? Typically, I'm a fan because I enjoy a bit of sun later on in the evening, but it does mean I get the podcast 1 hour later than I am used to, which makes me sad. One sad panda. So Big Josh Boy.
Sad red panda, perhaps?
Oh, maybe it's sad red panda. So Big Josh Boy, what's your thoughts on daylight savings time?
Get rid of that shit. Enough. I'm tired. I just pick one. I'm tired of this time change thing. I'm tired of some places doing time changes and others not doing it. We don't need it anymore. It was something that made sense when we didn't have technology and the ability to do certain things when it comes to crops and whatnot. We don't need it. Stop doing it. Why? Stop being so scared of change. Like, don't need this time change thing. No.
Well, I don't know. Like, I don't know. So it is obviously for farmers, and it's like there are a lot of farmers that live in the United States. Just because you don't see them all that often, like a lot of Idaho is farmland. I don't know how much exactly daylight savings time helps them. Like, I'd love to go to a farmer and be like, what are your thoughts on daylight savings time? What exactly does it do for you? And they're just like, it's fucking stupid. Like I just get up earlier. Like it doesn't matter. Like I'm very interested to see what farmers think of daylight savings time, because it doesn't seem to actually make that much sense.
Farmers can live on that time then.
Oh, okay.
They could just
easy. Like, you can be on that. The rest of the world gets to be on.
I mean, if you're farming, just do whatever you need to do when the sun's there. Like, what? Who cares what time it is? Just the sun's up. Better work. Like what? Like I don't know. whatever.
Okay. All right. This makes sense. Daylight savings time. I don't mind it. Of course, like I always feel robbed when you like it takes the hour. That's always bothered me because you wake up the next morning, you're like, like you're like fucking dead. And it's always thrown me off when like every time it goes forward 1 hour, you go to set your alarm and it's 1 hour more, and you're just like, why? Is my alarm broken? Like, what's up? Or you watch like, or when you have to work like a night shift on when it switches to daylight savings time, which I've had to do before when I worked at GameStop, and it fucking sucked because I was like, sweet dude, we're getting closer. And then it just like switched. It was like 11, however it does it, where it was like 12:59 and then it just goes back to 12 or some shit. And I was like, fucking kill me. I'm so sick of this. So daylight savings time kind of fucking sucks, but I don't know. Maybe farmers give a shit. I really don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Phil also writes in and says, have you ever looked at your ass in the mirror? Dude, literally
sure.
every time
For sure.
I get nude.
Well,
every time. I got that bubble butt, bro. I'm just like, what's up? You looking good, big boy. Like every time. Give him a little smack.
Ooh,
like,
a little smack, he says. No, definitely not. I mean, I look at it, but not every time. It's just if it's there, I'm like, doing good back there. So, doing work.
All right. There you go. And lastly, we have another question that says, when you were younger, did you ever argue about which was the best gaming platform on the internet? So okay. So did you ever argue about that? Were you part of the console wars way back when?
No, I wasn't. I've always had my opinions. Sure. Like I lean probably more towards Xbox, but also real quickly I became a PC boy and I was like, whatever, we don't care. Even though now that's changed a bit. But also I'm such a non-confrontational person and have so little interest about sharing my views or my just general thoughts out there to the world. Like I'm so bad when it comes to social media. Like I have no interest in it. And we've had this conversation before, I'm pretty sure, where I'm always like, I should be more active. I should push IndiePod. I should promote like all this stuff. And then I'm like, I'm just exhausted by the thought of even doing anything online. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, I just have so little interest, especially when it comes to arguing. Like, I'm so bad about this. I am very much a person when like you have a different opinion on something with me. I just don't want to talk about it. Not because like I don't want to be proven like wrong or right. I just don't care. I'm like, no one ever changes their opinion. Me being like Xbox is the best because of this is never going to change anyone's opinion on it if they're not someone who likes Xbox, because they're going to like the people who like Xbox are going to be like, that's right, it's good because of this. And the PlayStation people are going to be like, well, actually, it's bad because blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't, for what? What do you can have your opinions. I can have mine. It's so there's got to be like the 0.0002% that anyone's ever like, wow, you really opened my eyes to this subject. I'm really going to think about this and maybe I'll change my opinion. It's like, no one gives a shit. It's just a team we're all playing on. That's all it is.
When I was younger, I can say I did have like a little bit of my identity wrapped up in the console that I was playing on. Like I was a 360 guy and I was like, I fucking love Xbox. I had the original Xbox. I had the 360. I was all in the Xbox camp, and that was kind of part of who I thought I was at the time, which is a little weird.
And then you grew up.
That is so intertwined with my identity. Yeah. And then eventually I found out that like there were these really awesome games on other platforms and that I was losing out on so much by taking this Xbox fandom so seriously. I totally understand why. I think it's crazy that like people act like they don't get where console fandoms come from. They're like, it doesn't make any sense. Why would you attribute so much of your life to this fucking box?
Look at sports.
It's like, yeah.
Look at sports.
Sports is also pretty flawed as well, but it's like, I understand why people do it. I don't think it's illogical. Sure. Like people, they get super wrapped up in these things because we're all searching for meaning. We're all searching for something that makes us our own person. And one of those things, like when you fall in love with video games, a large part of that could be you fell in love with Halo. You fell in love with the original Mass Effect, which only released on 360. Like you fell in love with all these things. So you became attached to the platform that they're on. You became that Xbox fanboy because they were giving you the experiences that you wanted. And that just continued. I totally understand that. Like I totally get where people come from, but it's like, just take a second to look at like the Uncharted's, to look at The Last of Us. Like it's very possible that maybe PlayStation or Nintendo, they offer games that you would really, really like. It doesn't mean that you can't absolutely love Xbox anymore. It doesn't mean that that's not your main platform of choice anymore. Like I have all of these consoles, and before I built my PC, always played on PlayStation 4. I had an Xbox One, I had a Nintendo Switch, but they were my exclusive machines. Yep. I still played on PlayStation 4, and I was still in love with that console. Like it was still part of me. I would have said that I was like a Sony fanboy. Not the weird way how people use fanboy in a derogatory term now. Yeah.
You're just a fan. That's fine.
Yeah, I was a big fan of like Sony. I loved the way their logo looked. I loved the games that they were making. Like I'm a big fan of the Sony ecosystem. So I totally understand where people come from. I just think like, take one sec, think about all the things you're possibly missing out on by taking this so seriously. And like, you can find so much more meaning, not necessarily in a platform, but within the games that you play or within the experiences that you have across all platforms. Like I really, really love it. Not love the console, like the console wars and everything, but the fact that like we can all find meaning in games, like in this new art form. I think it's really awesome. Did I ever do it? Yeah, I did. Oh, I absolutely did.
Dirty scrub.
When I was younger. Like, you know, I was a fucking kid. I was sitting there in my newspaper class being like, I fucking love Gears of War. It's so good. Like everything. I literally went on like a rant in one, and it wasn't like necessarily, it was an article about why Gears of War as a movie would not make sense because there weren't any likable characters or anything. And I was like, you even play these fucking games, bro? Like what? But I'm not saying that I've ever been like, fucking Sony's a piece of shit. They got this garbage ass console, especially because I moved to the PlayStation 3. Yeah. I bought a PS3. I abandoned my 360 because I didn't have to pay for online. Like it was great. And then I moved to PS4 and they're like, I'll pay $60 for a year. And I was like, I'll just go fuck myself then. That's cool. Like whatever. But yeah, I've argued about it. Yeah, I definitely have.
Of course.
Of course. Zach writes in and asks, if you could be any geometric shape, which would it be and why? Big Josh Boy, any geometric shape, which would it be and why?
I'm a star because we're going places, baby. No, I don't know. Apparently I'm a square. And that joke was pretty square. Like, so I'll take it. I don't even know what Phil meant. He's like, I'm pretty sure you're squares. And I was like,
dude, I've never understood what the like square thing was. Like in like greaser terminology, how they was derogatory and they'd be like, you're a square. And I'm just like, okay.
You definitely just like, signed a rectangle.
Did I really? Just fuck me. Whatever.
One more slap at that sign language is your language for sure.
Oh my God.
I'm a square.
I'm a square. You're like, that was a polygon there, but whatever. Yeah, like it's not.
Dude, I'll be a polygon.
That was like a polygonal shape, whatever.
Yeah, because we got edges.
Yeah, no. So you just like, I'm a star.
I'm a star, baby.
Any special reason why, other than you don't really know? You're just like, this question doesn't make sense to me.
This question, I mean, you could. This is like one of those dumbass. No offense, Zach. One of these dumbass, stupid job interview questions where they're like, if you could be a bicycle, what part would you be? Or something. Like someone told me that question the other day and I'm like, what? Like, how are you really going to gauge if I'm going to be good at this job by that question kind of a thing? So it's just.
You're like, I'd like to be the tires so I could feel the dog shit right underneath my skin. Like, what do you fucking mean?
So I could feel anything ever.
Dumbass.
I don't know. I mean, there's a ton of them. I don't know, man. I'm gonna say star because we're gonna blow up. We're gonna be big. IndiePod's going places. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, if they're gonna get us canceled first,
they're gonna thank IndiePod. It's gonna be synonymous with the biggest video game podcasts. We're gonna be on the big networks, bro. IGN's gonna be talking about like, you know what Josh and Vaughn said today? You can't. You just watch like it's a.
Did you hear when they referred to like bestiality and stuff like that on the podcast? They were talking about furry porn when they were talking about chicory.
Hey man. The game didn't even need it. It was good. Look, it's a slow burn, but we're getting there.
All right, I believe you. So for me, I mean, if I could choose any geometric shape to be, I guess. Here's the thing, dude. I'm gonna be honest. When he said geometric shape, I was like, watch me fucking like say a shape that's like technically not a geometric shape. Like it's just like I'm oblong. Like it doesn't make any sense. So. Just my cursory knowledge of geometric shapes. I would like to be a triangle. Sounds weird. Have you ever heard of motherfucker Nikola Tesla's theory of everything? It's like the theory of the universe.
Like in
369.
Yeah.
And that it like unlocks everything. People have thought that it like basically gives them power over their lives and stuff like that. But the actual like I guess physical representation of that would be a triangle is 369. So that's why I like the triangle, like the theory of the universe. Yeah. I think it's really interesting.
Plus everything is better in threes.
Is it though? Isn't it like everything bad happens in threes?
No,
isn't that what people usually say?
Not when you're
like
talking
celebrities die in threes.
Not when you're talking about like design stuff. Everybody loves threes.
Okay.
Anytime you use stuff, it's got to be in threes. That's like the way. It's some dumb marketing technique. You're like, it's got to be 3 of them. It can't be 4 because then that's too many, and 2 is too little. It's got to be 3. That's the right spot.
It's a perfect number. I don't know. I saw it. It's a perfect number. I saw an article the other day. I think on Polygon.
What are we doing right now?
I have no idea. I saw an article the other day on Polygon that was like, why 4 is the best number for multiplayer, and I was
wrong.
Like,
well, actually,
what?
Actually, no. I guess it isn't though. I want.
You're like no, but
because I go back and forth because I have there's a lot of times where in my group, like it really depends on how many friends you have. Honestly,
yeah.
Like I feel like a lot of the times I get stuck in this group that has 5 people, and we're always arguing because we're like, let's play this one game, and it's like, well, that's for 4 people, and then we'll be like, we'll play this game, and it's like for 8 people, but it's like always a survival crafting game, and I'm like, it's garbage. Like, stop putting me in this. I had this one fight with my one friend who was like, oh, well, it's not a roguelite and it's not a blah, blah, blah. And he's like, so Josh can't play it.
It's not a card game.
It's not a card game. And I was like, that's not it at all. I was like, I'm just tired of you always being like, let's play this survival game that has crafting elements in it. And it's like, they're all the same fucking game. It's just you skin it and it's like, oh, now we'll build this thing in the jungle versus it's a sci-fi setting. And I'm like, I don't want to play this game. I don't want to craft. I'm tired of building a house. I got a house right here. I do enough work on my house. I don't need to video game my house. All right, enough. Anyway, that's my rant.
Jeez,
so for
Big Josh boy feeling real strongly about fucking crafting games.
So I cannot. I don't know why. I lose my interest so hard in them. Anyway, there needs to be more.
Next time they're like, let's play Valheim, and you're just like, get fucking triggered. You just bash the shit out of your PC. You're like, I'm done.
I'm done. What I'm trying to say is there needs to be more 4+ games that are not always just tied to like the survival crafting genre or the MMO genre. That's all I'm trying to say.
Okay.
That's all I'm trying to say.
All right. It checks out, dude. Okay. And lastly, number 1 Turner and Hooch fan, absolutely a Scrubs reference, has nothing to do with the movie. Writes in and asks, yeah, I've got a question. Why was Short Circuit made? Who greenlit this horse shit? I'm going to be honest, dude. What the fuck is Short Circuit? Like, is that the like robot movie where there's a white guy who plays an Indian guy? Like, no joke. I'm fairly like, there's a big joke in the first season of, right here. This fucking, it's in Short Circuit. It's actor Fisher Stevens. It's just a white dude who puts on like, they just paint his face tan. It's so uncomfortable. It's like an entire joke in the first season of, what is it? It's that on season. Oh, Master of None.
Yeah.
Over on Netflix, they're like, that guy wasn't. He's not idiot. And they're like, no, that's a white guy. It's awesome. So like, why exactly? Because the fucking film industry sucks. That's why. Like, what do you think, dude? You know how many shitty movies are made just constantly?
Sure. I don't know. I'm gonna just default to your answer. That's why. Shitty movie.
I've never seen Short Circuit though.
Nope.
Literally, like never.
Never
Once in my life, and I never will now. Like I like robots, but I'm gonna chill with Wall-E instead of watching fucking creepy ass Short Circuit.
Yeah, it sounds about right. I have no interest. I've never heard about this until today. So
there you go. Who greenlit? No idea. Why was it made? The film industry was like, how far can we push brownface before somebody says it's racist? Like, how close can we get?
I think that was that one Thunder movie. What was it?
Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder. Yeah, that's how far.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I'm a dude disguised as another dude. Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
It's real bad.
So that is the end of this episode. Thanks everyone so much for listening. If you would like to chat with us outside of the show, you could do so in a bunch of different ways. Specifically, Twitter is the easiest way to do so. You just hop on there, you type in @IndiePod, super easy, no spaces, no anything. You don't even need an underscore, just IndiePod over there. And follow us there. You could chat with us. You could send us a DM and such.
Ooh,
for some reason, it doesn't notify us when we get a DM.
I know,
like literally doesn't. And it's so annoying. I don't understand why. So sometimes I'll be chatting with somebody and I'll be like, they didn't even respond to me. It's been like 6 days. And I like check it and they responded to me 5 days earlier. And I was like, fuck. So be sure to follow us over there @IndiePod. You can follow me, Vaughn, @Hyde Legion. That's HYDELEGION for all of my dumb bullshit, whatever. You can follow Josh @the_George90 and over on Twitch if he ever decides to do it again at twitch.tv/the_George. Before we hop off, of course, I got to go through the housekeeping one last time. Please check out our Tim Scheinman, right?
Scheinman. Yeah.
Okay. Tim Scheinman developer interview going live on October the 20th. That is, of course, a Wednesday. Each and every developer interview goes live on Wednesday. Be sure to check them out. That one is about their game Echo Beach. Head over to Teespring. Check out that IndiePod store. You can get a t-shirt, some stickers, stuff like that. Check out our YouTube channel. Just IndiePod over on YouTube. It's super easy to find. IndiePod and Indie Games Podcast, IndiePod, whatever, dude. It's good.
Dude, check it out.
It's good. You can watch these ones. You can watch these ones. You can see me doing fucking sign language.
I'm gonna be honest. I think this was a great one. And not only was it a great one, it's a great one to watch live. Because I feel like there was a lot.
I could see it.
A lot going. Yeah, you could see it because you went to YouTube. And you can too, listeners.
There you go. Be sure to do so. Leave us reviews on any site in which you can do so. Specifically, iTunes helps us out a bunch, helps us reach a wider audience and spread the word about amazing indie games. And lastly, thank you so much to all of our amazing patrons at the $3 tier or higher. If you give us any amount of money or any amount of your time, you're absolutely fantastic. But got that sweet blood pact, you know. So I gotta say the name. So Ethan, a gamer for fun. John, just John. It's just. We'll see Zach Durham, Chase Hopkins, Philip Crenshaw, the one but from Australia, Josh Nichols, aka Active Josh, and Sam Fillion from Canada. Thank you all so much. You were all so amazing, and we will talk to you all next week. Goodbye.
Bye.